Good morning, Rabotai. Welcome to Breakfast in the Class. Breakfast in the Class today is sponsored by Ruth Bat Adela Orfali, by her family. It should be an Ilui Nishama for a very special woman. She's missed by her family very, very much. And Be'ezat Hashem should be a Zechut Aliyat Nishama from level to level. Began Eden Mikedim, Tehenish Matat Surah B'tzura Hayim. My friends, we also would like to wish Mazal Tov and Mabruk to Yitzchak and Charna Soibelman, my niece and nephew, who are having a Brit Milah this morning. Be'ezat Hashem. B'sha'at tova mutzlahat. They should be zochil le'achnis et benam to the Brito shel Avraham Avinu be'ito b'zano, and to raise them the Torah al-Chupal al-Ma'asim Tovim. Breakfast in the Class also dedicated in loving memory of Sammy Siman Tov, Lunishmat, Sarah Bat Nechama, and sponsored by Nadine, Alec, and Simon Simantov. For Refuah Shlema for Eliyahu Shimon Mazar Fortuné and Hannah Bat Zemafega. And the week of Cobra was sponsored by David E. Ash in honor of you and your substantial capacity to good today and every day. Okay, let us begin. My friends, I want to share with you a powerful, a beautiful concept today that I think is one that maybe is a little bit hard for people to swallow. And it basically goes like this. When a person hears, unfortunately, that someone passed away, so we want to always know what happened, what they passed away from. So someone might tell you, they passed away, unfortunately, car accident. How did they die? They died, unfortunately, they had aneurysm. How did they die? Unfortunately, the plane crash. A lot of different ways that people could pass away in this life, right? Lots of different ways. Everybody has their time, their place, and their way to go. But never in your life did you ever hear someone say, do you know what this guy, you know what he passed away from? He passed away from being a HazitCase. You know why he died? Because he was a nebuch. You never heard that before in your life. You don't die from being a HazitCase. You don't die from being a nebuch. You don't die, if you speak Hebrew, from being a frayer. The worst insult you could say to an Israeli is to tell him, Ata frayer. Worse than any curse word. Worse than any embarrassment. What does frayer mean? Frayer means a fool that gets taken advantage of. That's what a frayer. In fact, there was a mobile company in Israel whose entire slogan, do you know what their advertising campaign was? Maspik liot frayer. Enough of being a frayer, a fool, someone taken advantage of. Could you imagine? You don't say, Verizon, get your phone calls. Verizon, excellent service. Verizon, cheapest amongst carriers. Imagine you said, Verizon, stop letting them take advantage of you. That's literally what the slogan was for this, what's it called? For this phone company in Israel. So Israelis hate to be called frayer. Naive. Yaani. My friends, but nobody dies of friarhood. Maybe you die of friar tuck, but not of friarhood. My friends, let me explain why I think this is such a powerful idea. Our rabbis tell us that the story of Tisha B'Av happens because of the story of Kamtza and Bar Kamtza. Kamtza and Bar Kamtza are two very similarly named people. It's a mistake that anyone could have made, and the person delivering the invites to this fellow's wedding delivered it instead of to his best friend, they delivered it to his enemy. His enemy turns up and the guy is so mad, he throws him out. He throws him out. Now my friends, this idea that you could take someone that you don't like and throw him out of your party is a hefty item. But the Torah tells us that this man, this fellow who got thrown out of the party, got so mad that nobody stood up for him, got so mad, got so angry, that what did he do? He boarded a ship to Rome, and he convinced the Roman emperor, the Roman Caesar, to attack Jerusalem, to destroy the Beit HaMikdash, to kill with wanton abandon the Jews of Eretz Israel. They say over 1.5 million people. All of that from what? From what? From a person not wanting to be a HazitCase. Now, obviously, this guy was not a good guy. If your response to someone doing something is for you to wipe out all the Jews, I mean, you're in pretty elite anti-Semitic company at that stage. You're like the likes of Hitler, of Nasrallah, of Haniyeh, Yishtabach Shemo, who's no longer with us, right? Right? You're with pretty elite company if your response to getting thrown out of one guy's wedding is to decide to bring genocide, men, women, and children. So he's not a good guy, this fella. But what brings him to such animosity, anger, and rabid anti-Semitism is the fact that he felt like a HazitCase. No one's going to step on me. No one, they walked all over me. That's it. Not happening. My friends, today there's an adage that we say, listen, I want to be a nice guy in business. I want to be nice. I can't be a doormat. I'm not going to let the guy step all over me. You ever hear people say that? Right? The last line is, I'm getting stepped on. He's stepping all over me. You can't be a doormat. You got to teach our kids not to be doormats. And I think it's an interesting thing to think about. Because in the Tefillah, in the Amidah, at the end of the Amidah, 3 times a day, we say a special prayer called Elohai Nitzor. And in that prayer we say, V'nafshi ke'afar lakol tihiyeh. And my soul should be like dust for everyone. We're praying to be the dust that everybody else steps on. So is it that you die not to be a HazitCase? That you rain down hell and high water so that you're not a Nebuch or a Friar? Are we willing to get stepped on or not? Are we praying for it or killing in order to stop it? This idea that we're so desperate not to be seen as Hazit. I remember a while ago, I had a fellow who had a life-threatening illness. Anyway, at the time I said, listen, what I think we should do, he's not from here, he's from another place. He was trying to raise the money from here. He didn't raise enough to be able to get the medicines or the operation. I forget what it was that he needed. He needed a lot of money to be able to save his life. So I said, listen, do you know people? You're a well-liked individual? He says, yes, everybody loves me, I said, let me help you. We'll set up a GoFundMe, okay? We'll tell you a story. A little while before that, I don't know if you remember, there was a young woman from Florida whose baby needed a very expensive treatment. It was $2.2 million. And she made a video and she said, my baby Bar Minan is going to die. I need this medication. It costs $2.2 million. Am Yisrael, you have such rahmanut. Please help me. In a span of, I think it was 24 hours, they raised $2.2 million. The wild thing is that when all that money was raised on the GoFundMe, they sent out a message to everybody that donated. Thank you so much for donating to save this baby's life. The money is going to be transferred to Rabbi Galamidi, Rabbi of Safra in Florida. You know why? Because someone from the community had already given her $2.2 million to save a baby. So they didn't need the money, so instead, what happened? They took the tzedakah that was already given for this, and they dedicated it to saving the lives of children from medical practice. Who is like the Jewish people? Mika Amcha Yisrael. I tell this guy the story. I tell him, you know something? I think if we do a little GoFundMe, you speak directly to the camera, you explain the plight. I said, it's very hard to raise the money. You need the money now. Let's do this. I think we'll get the money. The guy said, Rabbi, I'd rather die. And you know, my first response to this guy, what are you thinking? What was I thinking? Get over yourself. I mean, HazitCase, who cares? Nebuch, Friar, who cares? Loser, who cares? Better to be a living loser than a dead winner. But then I remembered that actually he's right and I'm wrong. Because the Gemara says, you embarrass someone in public, we consider it as if you killed him. Ki'ilu shofech damim. It's as if you spilled his blood. So what was the guy telling me? If not for the actual words of that Gemara. He was saying to humiliate myself and say, I don't have a dime to my name. I need your help. I'm not well. He felt weak. He felt like a loser. I'd rather die. Could you imagine? But my friends, our aversion to this, I think what the Gemara is telling us, is not what it should be. It's not the Gemara is saying embarrassing someone is like killing them. You know why? Because they're the same thing. No. For a person to be embarrassed, they feel like they'd rather be dead. Should a person feel that way, though, about being embarrassed? Should a person prefer to die than to feel embarrassed? Than to feel stepped on? Than to feel taken advantage of? No. Because we feel that way, the Gemara says, it's as if you killed him. Are we clear so far? The Gemara says, better to throw yourself in a furnace of fire, don't embarrass someone berabim. You know why? Because it's as if you killed him. Why is it as if you killed him? Because that's how we are. We'd rather die than be that embarrassed. My friends, but I want to share something. There's a huge difference between getting stepped on and letting someone step on you. In the tefillah, we're not asking to get stepped on. What we're saying is, v'nafshi ke'afar lechol tihiyeh. I'm offering that if what's necessary is for me to help the synagogue. I remember my father in Beit Knesset, there was someone that came, they were raising money, they needed some money to, Anyway, so my father said, okay, we'll have 2 people, 3 people, we'll go around the shul, collect the money. The case was a heartbreaking case. My father shared the case. He says, okay, Shlomo, you collect on this side. Okay, great. He learns to the other side. He says, who's going to collect from this side? He points at someone. The guy's like, I raised my hand. I said, Abba, I'll collect on both sides. I want double the zechut. Of course, everyone now jumps up. No. What were they focusing on in that minute? It's embarrassing to walk around, even if it's not you, even if everybody knows that the rabbi just asked you to help raise tzedakah, to go around and collect a few dollars from a few people. In that first minute, the only thought is, I don't want to be that guy. I don't want to look like that. I don't want to ask people for money. I don't want to be embarrassed. I don't want to be awkward. But then, when I said, thank you, Abba, I'll take both zechuyot. Now everyone wants to steal my zechut. You understand? Getting stepped on and allowing yourself to suffer embarrassment for a higher purpose are in no way the same thing. Imagine, as an example, you go to your house and your brother says, your parents say, where were you? How come you're so late? You'd say to, the brother says, well, you know, I was going to be on time, but Stanley, he kept us, he's dragging his feet, made us take much longer. Look at the guy, he can't believe, how you throwing me under the bus like that? Now let's be honest. I'm so sorry. All the ladies who are listening to this, please close your ears. I don't want to get in trouble. I don't want to get in trouble with all men. When two friends come late for lunch at a house, what does every friend say to the husband of the wife who's about to slaughter him because he came late for lunch? Every friend says to his friend, blame me. Every friend. And not only that, if the guy doesn't blame him, what does the friend say? He walks in, I'm so sorry we're late. You know, he was waiting for me outside. Getting thrown under the bus is not the same as offering to be thrown under the bus. What does it feel like to offer to be the one to take the blame for your friend? That feels great. That's v'nafshi ke'afar lachol tihiyeh. When a person is mivater, when a person gives in, when a person is mifargen, allows somebody else space, when a person doesn't mind to be the one that's making the phone calls, there's a very special thing that happens. And you know what that is? You're taking embarrassment for HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And I need to say something. If the language of the Gemara told us that being embarrassed is like shofech damim, to volunteer to be embarrassed for a mitzvah is to attain the zechut of dying al kiddush Hashem, of mesirat nefesh for kiddush Hashem, and still getting to live, to have your cake and eat it too. The shul needs more funds. By the way, this shul needs more funds. We quadrupled our output. We need more money. Baruch Hashem. People are donating here, there. We need, however much it is, we need more. Because we're doing more and more and more. Baruch Hashem. Now, there's people that, you know, you want to ask, rely, would you mind helping us? Oh, Rabbi, I'll do anything. I can't ask for money. You know what the opportunity is? To be embarrassed for a Bet Knesset? To suffer a little bit of busha because you had to ask your friend and it's not so comfortable? To do that for a shul, for a Bet Knesset, for Talmud Torah, for the sake of classes, for the sake of tzedakah? That's dying al Kiddush Hashem. Is there a bigger zechut than that? Someone asked me once, Rabbi, what should I do? I did a tremendous chilul Hashem. Public knowledge, I did something terrible, public knowledge. I said to him, I said, you know, the Gemara says that chilul Hashem, there's no kapara on Yom Kippur, there's no kapara of the korbanot, there's no kapara of Yisurin. What's the only thing that's kapara for chilul Hashem? Rambam says, only when a person passes away, when he dies. So I said, but I'll bet you don't want to wait that long. So I said, take on embarrassing jobs for the community. Every time you're a little embarrassed, it's as if you died. You died al Kiddush Hashem. Rabbeinu Yonah actually says that the only other kapara for Chilul Hashem is Kiddush Hashem. But the highest level of Kiddush Hashem is what? Lamut al Kiddush Hashem, to give your life for Kiddush Hashem. My friends, if that's the case, what a zechut that is. To call people and ask them to come for a class. Now it's embarrassing. Oh, you're that religious guy now. You're that guy, you're the guy who calls everyone to come to class. You're the guy who tells everyone, guys, we should really go to Minyan. You're the guy who says in the friend group, listen guys, this place, I don't know, it's not kosher. You know, why don't we go to a kosher place? Let everyone feel comfortable. You're that guy. Oh, it has a kosher stamp in the window. Really? Is it a good kosher stamp? I'll never forget, when I was a child, there was a store that they wanted to write on the outside, Basar Kasher. But they didn't know anything about Judaism because they barely knew anything. And instead of writing Basar Kasher, the non-Jewish sign maker that they had write it, tried to write it, copy it, and he wrote instead, basar, basar. Right? Because kasher and basar are just a little tiny bit off. And my friends, kasher and not kasher is just a tiny little bit off. You know how big the difference is between kosher and non-kosher? Microscopic. The size of a bug that you can't see and didn't check for. And that's not only cheese, and that's not only meat. Sorry. My friends, if you're that guy, you're a rabbi and you want everyone to like you, but you go out on a limb and you tell people the way it is. And it's embarrassing. As a rabbi, people are saying, Rabbi, you're a little bit too strict. Shouldn't you maybe find more leniencies for the people? Everyone wants to be well liked. Everyone. No one doesn't want to be well liked. Rabbis included. But to blush for God, what a special thing that is. I just want to think, 1 second, what happens after this guy gets pushed out of the wedding, embarrassed, humiliated, and instead of retaliating, taking nekama, pouring that anger and that venom into violence and destruction, what if he would have said, our rabbis tell us that that moment when a person gets embarrassed and doesn't respond, they're allowed to ask HaKadosh Baruch Hu for anything. Did you know that? So much so that now that people know this, I remember once someone, people sometimes they joke around. They don't realize when they go too far sometimes. Someone embarrassed me publicly. I don't think he meant to. But anyway, as soon as I realized I was embarrassed, and I have what to say very fast. That was never my problem. I kept my mouth shut. And I had a little smile on my face because I knew I could ask. And in that minute, some guy runs up to me. He's like, Rabbi, could you give me a beracha? Because I know that you get a beracha. I was like, I ain't giving it to you. This is mine. I heard once that you only get one. I'm not sure. I don't know if you get two. I don't know if you want to give it away. Maybe you give it away. Hashem gives you more because you gave yours away to someone else. I'm not sure. I don't know. If you look at it that way, what happens? You have an opportunity here. I want you to imagine that you played a lottery. You know why? I don't play the lottery. I'm not a lottery guy. But every once in a while, I play the lottery. You know when I play the lottery? When there's $1 billion in the lottery, I play the lottery. Why? Because they say that a person, if Hashem wants to bless him, a person has to make hishtadlut, correct? But the hishtadlut that you're making has to be of the size of the blessing that God wants to give you. So let's say God wanted to bless me with $1 billion. There's no chance I'm making enough physical hishtadlut in my job as a rabbi to get that beracha, to let it land. So the Chachmei Musar used to say that a person once a year, they should buy not 6 tickets, not 42 tickets, not 26 tickets, the name of Hesed, 1 ticket. God doesn't need more than 1 ticket. If you're supposed to win, for you to win. But you also have to be able to make some form of hishtadlut. Someone said, you could get a job. Of course you could get a job. Right? But how many people's jobs are a vessel big enough for that kind? Someone once asked me, I said, every once in a while a person should make a play, a huge play. Because what if that beracha is waiting, but he needs a hishtadlut sized effort of that size? Anyway, imagine you bought a lottery ticket for $1 billion. Anyway, turns up the numbers 6, 13, 7, 18, 26, 36. with the Powerball number. I don't know for how many numbers it is, right? I'm not sure. To the Powerball number of 52, right? You know, all the numbers that you give for Aliyah. By the way, if you ever win on those numbers, realize you're sharing it with every other Sephardic guy in the world. Because every Sephardic guy picked all of those numbers. By the way, they chose. So you're splitting that 94,000 ways. Okay, anyway, you have the winning ticket. And then you notice at the bottom of the ticket it says, the money needs to be picked up in person at the top of this mountain, right? You know, in this state. And imagine you say to yourself, oh, that's very far away. And throw the ticket away. Instead of saying, I'm not HazitCase, I'm not going to let the guy step all over me, I'm not going to let the guy embarrass me, let me destroy him. Nobody died from being a HazitCase. In fact, you know how many people were born, had refuah shlema, had shalom, had parnasah, because a moment came where there was a HazitCase moment and they shut their mouth? Maybe that's what we're praying for when we say, "V'nafshi ke'afar lakol tiyeh." God, give me them chances. Because getting stepped on is not the same as allowing someone to step on you, especially if that person needs to step on you. I'll end with this. I remember there was a rabbi, a very, very smart rabbi, one of the smartest rabbis I ever had the chance to meet. Brilliant, photographic memory. Anyway, this elder rabbi comes and says, I just want to share with you a chidush, and he tells this rabbi the chidush, and I knew it. I'd heard it before. It was a very famous piece. And this guy, this genius, is sitting there listening like this. Wow, amazing, And the guy says, tell me the truth. He goes, you know what I'm talking about? You know where it is. You heard this before. You must have heard this before. He said, no, this is the first time I'm hearing it from you. Anyway, the guy says, oh, thank you. Walks with a big smile on his face. I said to the guy, I know it, and if I know it, you know it. Let's be honest. The guy's a photographic memory. He knows all of Shas, all of Poskim, everything, Midrash. The guy, unbelievable. Massive Talmid Chacham. He says, I didn't say that I never heard it before. I said it's the first time I'm hearing it from you. I said, well, why'd you say that? He said, because this man, the rabbi that just told us, he's an elderly rabbi. He's already started to forget. He has early onset Alzheimer's or dementia, whatever it is. He's already starting to forget. He says, and what will it feel like if everything he says to people they already heard? So for him to come to tell me a Dvar Torah and for me to not have heard it before, you know what that, and even if other people think, wow, I can't believe that rabbi never heard this. How does he not know something that I already know? He says, you know what? It's worth it to suffer a little bit so another Jew could feel uplifted. I was like kissing his toes. What a special thing. Baruch Hanei Le'olam. Amen ve'amen. Rabbi Chananya ben Akasha Omer.